and welcome to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Fresh from Las Vegas, Sir Rick, Drive Safe Dave, and man in the studio because our other two producers are still are they en route? Where are they at? We do have Bryce. Bryce, good morning to you. I can't see you, Bryce. Is she on the air?
I don't know what's.
There you is. There she is. We're good.
Oh, wait a minute.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I like it. I like it. I like it. You know, nothing like a little bit of technical difficulties to get the morning going. Dave, what a great event we were part of.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that was a lot of fun, a lot of interesting people, and a lot of great people involved in jumping in and having interviews with. I had a blast meeting and networking with a ton of people in the industry.
Yeah, this is so the TCA, the Truckload Carriers Association, it's there for you, right? The trucking company, the truck driver, independent contractor, company driver, they are there to help represent us to Washington, to this country. And when we do the TCA events, whether it's in Vegas or Nashville, it allows us all to get together and really start the networking process. And there's some amazing discussions that happen. But Dave, again, for the second year in a row. Now listen, this TCA, the most well-attended TCA ever. It started off the greatest in 15 years, forever. Yeah. The best ever, most well-attended. Congrats to everybody for showing up. That's awesome to do because that's what happens when we get together. And Dave, some of the greatness around what we saw had to do with all of those booths around the place, right? There's booths everywhere, and we saw a lot of technology based on safety and productivity.
Yeah, there was some really elaborate booths set up, and I really liked one of the trucks in there, that technology truck that was in there. But anyway, there were some really fantastic booths that they had designed and set up, and not only that, but I'll tell you better than that was the people that were there.
Yeah, and with the networking part that goes around that, listen, what that does, that is when we all get together and we talk about what's happening in the around the country. We talk about the what can we do to help each other get better. We talk about the electronic logs, the safety around it, and Dave, it really does. It allows all of us to put ideas together on one thing to make our industry safer.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it was interesting to hear the different points of view from the different areas that were represented. Not just, there was everybody from insurance companies there to electronics that were there. To
the autonomous guys.
Yeah, the autonomous guys were there, and then you had carriers there, and you had some great truck drivers were there.
Phenomenal truck drivers. We're going to get in that in just a second. Before that, we are going to touch base on some of the autonomous conversation that occurred around, yes, BCB Live, right there in that area. We had a lot of tech folks there. We had a lot of people, Dave, lining up, trying to get on. Put me on next. Put me on next. And we had to have people out there to rush them out of the way, get them out of the way. But I will say this. Some of the conversation around autonomy was phenomenal. And we saw some exciting announcements. We had Christensen Transportation with their alliance or their contract with Locomation. Locomation. And what that is, that's more of a convoy aspect, almost like platooning, but they call it the convoy. Right. When basically a truck driver with a trailer has another truck and driver and trailer behind it. This driver is driving the truck. This one's platoon/convoying with it, but this driver's sleeping while it's going down the road. Then when they get to that point, they return and come back. This person drives, and this person goes to sleep. Some crazy, just the IT, everything about this is phenomenal as we push towards a more autonomous era.
Yeah, and what was interesting about the ideology and the technology is that when you're basically mirroring a driver all the time. So you actually have a human driver in the front, and the rear truck is mirroring what the human driver does and whatever needs to happen and what takes place. And I do like the fact that at no time is a driver excluded from the vehicle in this scenario. It's still, a driver still is with the truck. A driver still has the power to take over the vehicle, and a driver still has the ability to do those things of the unanswered questions, right? There's still a lot of unanswered questions.
Yeah, and this isn't happening tomorrow.
No,
we're a couple of years away from it. Listen, there'll be a we'll put that interview up on our board, LinkedIn, YouTube. Look for us with Christensen and Locomation as they put those together. They come to agreement. We talked to other folks as well on that side of the business, and that was the again, when we talk about the autonomous vehicles. You know, Dave, I asked the question, and I brought it up here many times, is my big worry about about this autonomous is what happens. You bring it up when there's hand signals involved, right? There's been an accident in the road in the intersection, whatever it is, and we're asking that truck to go that way. Those folks said this. They said that's not an issue. We can read hand signals.
Yeah, but
we can do all that. So all that can happen. The other item was, Dave, was what happens when a car, a four-wheeler, makes that mistake in the road. They cut it. We see it all the time on the videos where they get in front of us and it takes a reaction. Okay, and what happens when that happens? Who is going to own the technology that decides I'm going to kill the person to the left or to the right? I'm going to do this. I don't have a choice. Their answer to that and Dave, they believe it, is we won't be in that situation because they're always seeing things. They're always maintaining the proper distance from the car that's even coming up. So if a car is speeding up on them on the right side and it's out, they may back it off. They're going to start reducing the speed on the truck automatically. It's focused on safety first. So just some crazy things. And when we talked about the first one, right, we spoke about the hand signals. What they struggle with, it's not the hand signals, it's who's giving the hand signals. Dave, what does that mean?
So if it might not be a policeman, it might be just somebody out there in a shirt going, hey, bring that $200,000 load. Let's go down this alley right here and let's park it at the end of the alley. You know, we'll take care of it when you get here. Not only that, the other thing was they're not sure yet on and we're going to have to figure that out. And they're also talking to it. Some of the rules will have to be changed, right?
Yep.
On inspections, who's getting the ticket? I mean, right now, under the law, the driver gets the ticket. If there's no driver, I guess the
truck gets. I mean, that's a small thing.
Okay, and then, all right, what about an airline brake or a mechanical failure?
It's going to go to the equipment side, right?
Yeah,
it would go to the equipment owner of that. I think those are simple things to do. I don't worry about that part. Again, there's so much that goes on. I think when we get to that point, if there's no driver, obviously the driver's not going to get it. The truck has to get it, right? I mean, I think those are pretty simple things.
Sign right here.
That's the least of Buttigieg's worries right now. Hey, Dave, but we had an interview with Glenn, right, from Prime. Glenn from Prime, he was up for one of 3 independent operators up for Driver of the Year. And Dave, you think about all the drivers. He was one of 3 for Driver of the Year. We talked to a couple folks in there, and Glenn won last night.
Yeah, we talked to Gene and Glenn.
Yep.
So we talked to 2 of the 3 of the owner-operators that were up for the Driver of the or Owner-Operator of the Year award that was given away, and Glenn won yesterday. What a great guy, great opportunity to sit and talk. 40 years experience of driving, 8 5 million paid miles, 8 million overall
right.
miles.
That was the funny part right there. Yeah, we can all relate to that. Yeah, right. Almost 5 million paid miles, probably
Driven
equivalent miles. of 8 million miles actual. Ha ha ha. Yeah, real funny, says all the trucking companies. Hey, do we have a clip of that interview?
Yeah, I'm going to play it real quick.
All right, welcome back to BCB. There he was, and Dave, and you can continue watching that interview as well. It's on the website, it's on LinkedIn, it's on YouTube. Find these things. Get to know these heroes of the road. He was a phenomenal person, and as he's driven with his wife of 40 years, right, in the truck, and he still made it 40 years. Drive safe. I mean, you and I, we're together for an hour a day. Could we make it for 40 years, you think?
We can't. We don't do well in an hour, let alone over 40 years. But I'll tell you, what was interesting, talking to Glenn, not only U.S. and Canada, running team all over, been doing it a really long time, been really successful with it. I was enjoying some of the funny stories. He does attribute a lot of his success to his wife, and attributes a lot of success of just taking his time and doing what needs to be done out there on the road. And you know, you talk to somebody like that, they really do love driving. They do love their job and love what they do.
And we're going to talk about some of the items that he brought up in our conversation. But first, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back in about 60 seconds with more BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
Hi, this is David Dover, also known as Drive Safe Dave. You are watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
Safety is what you want to talk about, and safety is what you want to be every single day. That's what we're here for. We're here to make it better.
The industry needs BCB Live so that it can find new and inventive ways to bring safety to the forefront for every single person out there on the road.
You got to be prepared to stop. And when you look at that and you understand the situation that you're in, you got to know that it's going to change. You got to expect it to change, and you can't run those lights.
You can watch BCB Live weekdays, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. So what are you waiting for? Follow and subscribe to BCB Live today.
Hey, some of the items that we spoke with Glenn about, and welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation, was safety on the road, and how, you know, and it wasn't just him, it was Gene as well. And these are driver of the year candidates and one champion actually now, but this was their view. And Dave, they spoke about safety on the road today, not just in the trucks, but the four-wheelers, and how it's really kind of been less than impressive over the last few years.
Well, there was so much going on at the TCA and what we were talking about. I'll tell you who I enjoyed talking to, and that was
what? You weren't even listening to me on my thing there. So we're going to go back into that. So the item that I was wanting to talk about was the fact that he was talking about the drivers on the road, right? As we were talking about this part right here, he made mention to that. And I want to stick to this subject because we had Mr. Steenberg. He's the executive director and chief safety officer at the FMCSA. Dave, he brought this up right now, and I'm going to hit some safety things first. So he praised the efforts of the drug, the drug and clearinghouse, saying that they kept off the road over 83,000 drivers that had history of drug problems or history of substance abuse of some sort off the roads. And understand we have an 80,000-ish shortage right now. Here was the part that he also spoke about, that there were last year, in 2020, I should say, in 2020, that's the only data we have right now, 831 truck drivers died in accidents on the road in 2020. And a third of those drivers were not wearing their seatbelts. A third of those drivers not wearing their seatbelts.
Unbelievable. And we talk about the seatbelts all the time. We talk about how important it is and how important it is to stay in the seat to control the truck. I mean, not only does it save your life, but it'll save the life of somebody else when you stay behind the wheel of the vehicle to be able to control it even after an accident or when things go bad. You can easily be knocked out of the seat.
And the big question he brought up, and Dave, I'll bring it to you, and I'll bring it to you out there as well, the drivers of the road, is, his thing is that I don't know, when you're out there on the road, because you sit up high, because of all that, you're in a big machine, do you feel invincible? And that's kind of the only place that they can kind of tie it to is, why wouldn't you wear one? Do you feel invincible? Dave, talk to me about that out there on the road. Is that a valid, you think that could be one of the reasons?
You are the biggest, dog on the porch and when you go out there, but there was a time when drivers didn't wear seatbelts. There was a time when they didn't, old school drivers wouldn't put them on in their seats, how they were sitting back because they were in a different, they would sit way back in the seat and the seatbelt would come weird or however it was done. But I'll tell you, over the years, I just got comfortable. For me personally, I got comfortable wearing the seatbelt in the truck to keep me locked into that chair. So I do know you do feel a little bit different. Also, you're in there for a long, long period of time, and sometimes you have to shift around and you do get a little uncomfortable. But and I'll be honest with you, some of the drivers that are larger are uncomfortable wearing seatbelts.
I mean, is there something that we've got to do with the manufacturers to make it more comfortable? Because we've got to wear these seatbelts out there on the road. I mean, listen, that's a third of the deaths were not wearing seatbelts. That's a lot of people not wearing seatbelts. And if it's, I know that, I guess I don't get it, but I've been with folks that don't wear their seatbelts, and I don't know how you do it. Right, I don't know how do you do that and how you make that happen on that. But I've seen those folks, and maybe there's something with the manufacturer we've got to start working on as well.
They used to have the automatic seat belts that would come on when you got in. I don't know that you can do that in a truck because you got to move around the seat to get in the sleeper. You can't do anything like that because of the amount of you have to move around a lot differently there. But you know what? I believe it's just like every other campaign, Rick, that we do. I still think it's important that we continue to educate.
Yes.
We continue to bring the information. We continue to do what's necessary in order to understand how important it is to wear a seatbelt. Most of the issues, most of the problems that we talk about, whether they be driving too fast or conditions, it's all about education and training, right? And I think we just need to continue that training, especially. And I'll tell you where it really hits home. It's on drivers that have been driving for a long time. They still need additional training. And why wouldn't they? I mean, they've been doing it forever, but there's always room to learn.
Yeah, back to the basics kind of a thing,
Correct.
right? Because I do believe the younger group of drivers, and it makes sense to me, they've grown up with the seatbelt. We
Correct.
grew up, running around the back. There was no seatbelt on in the back, playing who was acting like they're driving the back of the station wagon. All of that. We grew up in an era where you didn't wear the seatbelt. But those younger group coming in, Dave, they've been wearing their seatbelts forever.
Yeah, they don't even know a time when it was without it. I think it was in '72 that seatbelts became mandatory in vehicles, and it took a long time for people to even put them on.
Yeah. Hey, another big subject out there, and it continues to be the subject that we see is the truck parking issue. We spoke with Dave Heller, and there was an actual article from Dave Heller. He's the VP of Government Affairs. You'll see him right here on BCB Live a few times. Dave, great guest. We love him having on the show. Well, him and Caitlin Smith. Caitlin is the Government Affairs at the TCA. They wrote an article about that in which it tries to talk about the truck parking situation. That today there is one trucking parking space for every 11 drivers.
That's crazy.
There's one out there for every 11 drivers. We spoke about it on the interview, and again, you can watch these interviews on YouTube, on LinkedIn, but we talked to David about the amount of time, nearly 56, let's just call it an hour, a day of lost productivity to the driver, to the company, to this country, because people are looking or stopping for those parking spaces early. They can't find it. If they get one, then they get it right now, losing out on about an hour a day, which to the driver is around $5,500 a year of their paychecks that they can't make because they're worried about their parking spot.
Right, and it not only that, that's the average number. There's going to be guys that are spending 2 hours, right? If you find one right away, I mean, there are sometimes you find one right away, but think of those guys that don't find one right away, and it's not just an hour, and it's not that those guys get hit long and hard to try to find these spaces. It is a definite problem. It's the number one issue by drivers, and it's going to be the number one issue in the country.
Yeah, so 70% of the drivers, according to David and Caitlin as well, 70% of drivers admit to violating the hours of service rules to find parking, and 96% of those drivers have had to park in areas not designated for trucks.
That's on the side of the road. That's on a ramp. That's in an area that you're not supposed to be parking, or in a parking lot that you don't normally park on. And let me tell you, that's not safe parking.
And you know what? I'm going to go. Here it goes. 84% of those parking in those areas, they don't even feel safe. And Dave, if 84% of the 96% that have done this, right? So if the majority of you out there are parking somewhere where you shouldn't park at, you don't feel safe, you don't feel secure while you're parked there. Tell me about the sleep you're getting that night.
Not good at all. I mean, you're worried about every little noise that goes around on the truck. And when you're at a truck stop, and you're parked in between trucks, and there's traffic, there's noises going on. but it's truck drivers, right? And you're near an area that is designated, designed for, and basically, if a car is in there, it's everybody's weirded out by it because I don't know why a car's in here, right? So a car's not, so nobody that's in there, so you're not by your kind, and then when you're parked on the side of the road, you don't feel comfortable. You're even worried about being hit.
Yep.
So I mean, there's so many things. And lastly, where are you going to the facility? You have no facilities, and you have nobody to watch your truck or look at it, or it's not it's out of the ordinary where it's at. It's just not good.
And then they bring in the women in trucking, those women truck drivers. Again, a market a demographic that this industry is trying to gain into the marketplace. And yet, so 7-8% of the truck drivers, 9% of the truck drivers are women in our industry. And it talks about that. The women driving today, they will try to grab a parking spot up front to reduce the steps, right? They don't want to park all the way in the back because that means when they go take that shower, they go eat, they've got to walk all the way back. They want to minimize those spots. Again, that means that the woman driver out there, perhaps, they're having to shut down a little bit earlier to make sure they get a parking spot closer to the showers, to all of that.
So basically, and to your point, they are hurting them. I mean, it's damaging their productivity by doing all of that on the front end. And I'll tell you, if you want to encourage more women into the industry, you have to address these issues now. We have to get this bills passed. We have to get the states on board, the state governments, the local governments. Everybody has to understand how important it is in these governments to get this truck parking done in these urban and also very populated centers. You go, and Rick, we talked about this, Dallas and Atlanta and these huge Chicago and these huge cities. It's difficult to find a good space located to where you are going to ship and receive.
Yeah, and if we think about the industry, again, if we think about the 7.8% of women drivers, well, they bring a great job, Caitlin and Dave do in the article. They say, well, if we can just increase this by 2%, the women drivers, and obviously that means we're going to maintain the current drivers in the market that we have, we will eat away that thing, the 80,000 drivers, it'll be gone. We've got to work on this, though, because that's one of the top two issues with truck drivers today. Are you listening? Here you go. USA, Congress, FMC, anybody out there, are you listening to what your drivers are saying, what your highway heroes are saying? We don't have any parking places. You hear from all the trucking associations, we are all about safety, and when you take these places away from us to park, Dave, when we spoke about that, when 96% of the drivers have parked in places where they shouldn't park and 86% of them feel unsafe, listen, they're not getting a good night's sleep. They're not able they're not as safe perhaps or as alert as they could be had they had the proper parking spot that night to sleep in, where they feel secure.
Yeah, I mean, you talk safety and you want to put the onus on the driver to be safe, but you also have to do your part into making sure the driver is safe whenever they do stop the vehicle and for the day or what have you. That's a two-part series, and you've got to play the game right and play it fairly. But we have to find ways in which we can get our local, state, and we can get the federal government involved in getting money spent on finding spaces. I'll tell you, if you increase parking spaces dramatically, you will increase your productivity dramatically, and you will increase the number of people that come into the business.
Yeah, so listen, we get it, right? I mean, we have a lot of help out there. We see the autonomous vehicles. We hear the autonomous vehicles with drivers in them still maintain that data. I think the industry is trying to do all it can to be safe out there. But you know what? You in Washington, you've got to do your part as well. These bridges. You know, when I think about the platooning, when I think about convoying, whatever you want to call it, be careful on how many trucking companies do this, because can our bridges today sustain a truck falling a little bit closer? Right? I mean, you think about these bridges today and their capacity and how they're they're old, they haven't been repaired. Listen, if you put a lot of if you think about the convoys, you think about platooning, in essence what you're saying is we can get a lot closer. Right? Because we're all tied together and it's being maintained. That's a lot of weight on that bridge.
Yeah, I mean that's basically the reasoning for the bridge law is to spread out the weight across many
But platooning takes that away, right? So you got to make sure that our bridges, this infrastructure that is it's old. It needs to be repaired. It needs funding. We've got to come back in here and take care of that. We have to do that. But drive safe, Dave. It's getting close to that 7:30 mark. We know we got Buckle Up Bob coming in. We know we have the weather and the traffic coming our way. But everybody's wondering right now, what is that phrase that pays?
We are wondering what is the phrase that pays, but we're always prepared, and we have it ready for you right now. Life did not begin by accident. Don't let it end as one.
One more time,
Life
sir.
did not begin by accident. Don't let it end as one.
Yeah, so I spoke yesterday afternoon about what that meant to me. Dave, tell us about what that means to you.
Yeah, you know what? Basically, it just describes and tells us all how important life is and how important every single person is out there and their purpose, their role, and their place in this world as a whole. And it is our responsibility to not end it as an accident.
All right, drive safe, Dave. I appreciate it. We have Buckle Up Bob coming up next. We have weather and safety right here on BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. It is Buckle Up Bob, and we're going to get you started off this Wednesday morning, hump day, with some traffic. Again, we start with the DFW area, and it is got a lot of issues. Spotty, if you will. None of them seem long, but they're all over the place. We'll start with Fort Worth. We have a problem coming in from the west on 30. Of course, the northbound direction on 35W south of Fort Worth. The loop downtown Fort Worth, north of the loop. The loop itself has some issues, always up here, right at this merge point of 820 and 35W near North Richland Hills. 30, always a problem up to 360. We had an issue. There was a structure fire this morning. I think it's clear now, but it's somewhere down in here, but on 360 and 287. So again, by Mansfield. So that I believe is cleared now. And then as we get in the Dallas area, you can see 175, 20, 635 up there. Some of the normal hot spots at these merge points, Balch Springs, always an issue. And then the downtown Dallas area. So the loops are still your best bet to get around some of this traffic that is in these major cities. And that's no different in the Dallas-Fort Worth area this morning. As we look at Houston, right, 69 looks much better today. A little bit of an issue coming from the southbound direction on 45 there as you approach the loop, the outer loop. And then again, we get back to normal a little bit. 10 has been clear for a few days. Now it is back up to issues on the eastbound direction. Once you get past Katy, heading east, you're going to run into a backup, and a pretty good one, it looks like, too. So you're going to have a lot of traffic all the way in to the tollway. Also on the southern tollway here, as you approach, you got a little bit of a problem there underneath, just south of George Bush Park. But everything else looks pretty good. 288 has some issues on the northbound. 45 looks good coming from the south and the north. So again, the loop is really clear as you come into the Houston area. So that's going to be your best bet. As we look at Kansas City, Kansas City has a little red this morning, but it's all downtown, which is a good thing. That means your loop, which is a smaller loop, is really good getting around Kansas City. 70 looks good passing through. 35 north and south. A little bit of problem up here at Liberty where you've got the split from 35. So again, you're going to have a little bit of a problem there, but all in all, Kansas City looks good this morning. Chicago's been looking pretty good. Again, 80-94 crossing the Indiana-Illinois state line looks good. A little bit of a backup on the northbound direction near Bolingbrook on 55 here. So once you get past Plainfield heading north, before you get to the 355 loop, you're going to run into some backup there. A small one. Looks like about a 15 to 20 minute backup. 88 looks good coming in. Aurora, Naperville, Downers Grove, all looks clear. As does 90 as you come in from Elgin, coming in from the west, and you get to Elgin and Schaumburg. All looks good as you approach the loop. 94 coming down from Wisconsin and the northern part of Illinois looks great as well, as does the loops. A little bit of an issue here on the northbound direction, if you will, near Hickory Hills. But not a bad one, and so your loops are really clear to get around the city this morning in Chicago. As we look into Atlanta, right? Atlanta's always our trouble spot. 75 has some issues as you approach 675 here, the loop. You've got some down by McDonough, all the way to Stockbridge on the northbound direction. 20 eastbound. All the way back out to Douglasville, you have problems all the way into 285. A little bit of an issue on Stonecrest on the westbound direction. And then 85, always a problem. Backed up all the way to 316. As you can see, 19's an issue. 75 coming down from the north. We have all kinds of problems. And the loop. The loop is all red and orange from 20 on the east side of Atlanta to 20 on the west side. So, again, your best bet, especially if you're coming in on 20, is to get down and go around, which you have to do anyway. It's a state law in Georgia. Unless you deliver inside the loop, you cannot pass inside the loop. You must take it anyway. But again, Atlanta, you're going to need your patience. You're going to need more spacing, right? And just yield that right away. We're going to see some videos a little bit later for you all that yielding the right of way is one of the best tools you drivers have out there at preventing accidents. Remember, you got to prevent them. Don't worry about fault, but prevent what you can. As we go into Nashville, Nashville's got all kinds of issues this morning. 24, the typical northbound, all the way back to Walnut Ridge and 266. We also have a little bit of a problem both directions. Northbound here near Creve Hall, but also southbound coming out of the loop there at 155 and 440. As you head south, you've got some major backup there. Eastbound on 40, we have a little bit of a problem back at Newsom. And then again, as you come into Westmead, as you approach the loop. And then inside the loop, we got a problem here on 40 at 24 merge point, which we usually do. And up here on the northern side of the city, the 2465 merge point. And then we've even got some problems on the 31E. That is the southbound direction. So again, Nashville, you got a lot of issues going on this morning. So again, be patient. Yield that right away. Slow your speed. Increase your space. DC area looks like a typical morning commute, right? The loops has its normal spots. 95 northbound, you have some issues back here at Woodbridge, Lorton, as you approach the 495 loop. And then also, actually that's it. Everything else looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit of a problem on 66 on the eastbound direction all the way back to Centerville, but then it's your loop, and it's always an issue up here on the northeastern corner, and that's no different this morning. So again, you got it in both directions. You got it in the southbound direction right here on this northeast corner, and then on the very northern top, it is the westbound direction. So again, you got a little bit of a backup everywhere, and that's these merge points, right? 95 and 295. You also have a problem down here at Forestville. near the airport at Camp Springs and that, right, the merge points, you can see a lot of red as you come up into that. So as we look into the Baltimore connections, right, 95 looks good as you get to the D.C. area, but coming out of Baltimore, we have the typical problem at Jessup here on 295, and also Relay and down to Hanover on 95. That is the northbound direction, okay? And as we come into the Baltimore area, not too bad. I mean, really, you got a little bit of problem here at Pikesville, which is normal, but 795 feeding into it, 70 feeding into it looks pretty clear this morning. And then again up there at the northeastern corner on Parkville, that is the westbound direction. You have a little bit of a backup there. So Baltimore looks really kind of clean. The loop looks pretty good, so make sure you're on that loop. That's your best bet this morning in the Baltimore area. All right, Philadelphia. Boy, it's just been a nightmare. It seems like it's starting to get like Atlanta, I think, every day. We have the normal issues here at Deptford and Belmar, where 55 and 42 merge. The normal 95 along the river. But then we look at the turnpike, and we are backed up to Conshohocken, get a break. But then we're backed up from King of Prussia all the way back past Phoenixville up to Collegeville. And then coming down 476. Again, we always start to back up both directions from Marple Township all the way down to 95. And then even the 276 around looks pretty clean with a little bit of a backup. That is going to be on your westbound direction from Horsham down to White Marsh. So, Philly, you got a little bit of an issue this morning. So, again, just pack your patience. As we look at Indianapolis, right? 70, normal spot backup right here at the northeast corner of the city as you drop down and around. But you should get through that pretty good. The loop is really hectic this morning. We have problems in both directions, stretching all the way from 37 and 74 merge point all the way around to 70. And then you get a little bit of break. And then at Lawrence, you've got it again all the way up to 69 split. And then up here by Zionsville, 465 at the 865 split merge point. A lot of traffic both directions. All the main arteries feeding into the loop look pretty clear this morning in the Indianapolis area. So we're going to go weather, man. We had some wind. We had some storms. So, again, we want to show the current and get you where the winds are today. So, again, if drivers out there, if you're using windy.com, this little flag icon, right, gives you all the current winds. No matter what you change this date and time to, this will give you the current winds. So you focus on the yellow, the gold, or the bigger colors. So you can see our winds are mainly the issues this morning starting out is up here in Nebraska. So we got 36 mile an hour gusts, right, 35s, mid-30s. So that just requires you to get it down to 55. No matter how heavy you are, you need to get it down to 55, and you should be good. Now, let's see what's great about the windy.com. So we can see the winds usually kick up in the afternoon, right? And this is no different. What I like about it is the colors show you the forecast. So you know that dark purple is no good, right? But the current winds do not change on the map when you drag that out. So even though I'm looking at 3 p.m., it looks like we're going to be windy in Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia, southern Indiana, right? But again, out here in eastern Colorado, the same areas yesterday, the panhandles, that northeast corner, of New Mexico. So you're looking at Tucumcari, right? It's kind of the endpoint, Denver here on the west. And then again, we're going to see some things in the strongest winds are going to be there in so 287, maybe 40 coming across the panhandle. Could see some issues. Kansas, we're going to be in the, if you touch anywhere in here, you get the forecast. So you're looking in the mid to upper 30s. So again, that's navigable depending on your weight, but you're going to have to slow down. The 70 mile an hour speed limit is no longer in effect. You need to be down in that 55 area to be safe. And if you're empty, you probably need to be at 50 or less to navigate through there. But here, when we touch here, got too close to a city. That will happen when you do that. So there's 50 mile an hour gust potential along that 287, 70 corridor coming out of Denver going into Kansas. So right there on that state line. So that's just something you can see. Hey, currently you're good. You can see a lot of green and blue, so that's good. But know that, hey, this afternoon, let's see when that really starts to pick up. 1 o'clock, 10, we're still pretty good, so probably around 11. There you go. Around 11, you're going to start to see them winds pick up. You can see that same spot is 40 miles an hour at 11, and then by 1, it kicks up to 54. So that's a forecasted. So, again, use this map. Check it out. And again, it looks like today mostly going to have a little bit of an area where you may not be able to drive, but most of it looks like you're going to be able to navigate it with just some slower speeds. Again, let's see where that storm system is. Let's see, thunderstorms. There we go. That's the forecast. I'm sorry. There we go. And let's clear the thing. So you can see this line. This thing started Monday in Dallas area, right? Produced a number of tornadoes. Yesterday came through Mississippi and Louisiana. Again, produced more tornadoes. And now it's stretching from the Florida Panhandle all the way up into West Virginia, all the way through western Pennsylvania. So you can see Atlanta, the 81 corridor going up out of Tennessee into Virginia, all of West Virginia. So we've got a little bit of some rain to navigate this morning. And as we put this in motion, we'll see how it kind of intensifies a little bit as it moves east, northeast. And you can see a lot of lightning coming at the bottom, but it looks like it's weakened a little bit. There's not near as much lightning. So we'll keep an eye on that. Hey, if you're driving in that area, be mindful of it. The rain can be heavy at times. You may need to pull over and ride it out. Typically, these storms are, within an hour, you usually clear up enough to where you can get moving. So you want to watch that, watch the flash flooding. But you can see it stretches all the way from the Gulf up into Canada. So again, and it even gets stronger as it wraps around in Canada. So, and some lingering showers here coming through Missouri, from Kansas City through Illinois. So that 64 and 70 corridor, that 70 corridor coming across Missouri could have an issue as well. And you can see it as it pushes off into Pennsylvania. So again, watch that weather. Winds are going to be the big thing again today. So we just kind of want to check that out again. And again, you can see here's that leading edge of them storms, right? So obviously there's going to be some winds, right, associated with those storms. But you can see Nebraska, Iowa, and Kansas. And then as we move through the afternoon, a quick recap. You can see Denver, New Mexico, and then Panhandle start to hit, as well as Kentucky and Indiana picks up in them 30s. Hey, we're going to take a quick break and be right back with some safety. Thank you, sir.
Welcome to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Hope you're doing well today. I know we are on this side of the camera. Hey, before we get into your thing, Buckle Up Bob, I want to show a video from Twitter. This is down in Louisiana. Bryce, show that video for us if you can. Watch it. See the flat better? Bob didn't even see it. Watch it again, Bob.
Coming across.
Yeah, this isn't normal.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's not even on an exit ramp, just on the grass.
Wow.
See?
Oh, yeah, he come down the hill.
Not only did Bob not see it, I don't think this big truck saw it either. You never see the brake lights come on.
Yeah, I was watching the big truck. All right, what's going to happen to that big
Oh, no,
truck?
he stopped.
Yeah.
He stops. That big wall of dust in the air. That'll bring you to a stop.
All right, so that happened on. You see it right there at 4:30ish on the 22nd of March. So what happened on here? We actually don't know what happened. You know, the driver is saying that there was some mechanical issues on the truck, something with the steering, perhaps lost control. He couldn't turn. The brakes didn't work either. DOT is kind of saying, hey, we never saw any skid marks. Asking the driver these questions here, and the other thing was, well, had something happened, like you said, with the steering becoming you would have gone left or right, and we never saw that either. Boy, it's speaking to almost some kind of fatigue driving.
Yeah,
to me.
almost falling asleep.
Yes.
I mean, there was and you know how that happens, right? Because when you don't apply, you fell asleep. You don't have a chance to do that. When you wake up, it's too late on that. For that 2 or 3 seconds. And Dave and Bob, it kind of goes in again. I put a lot of the fatigue on the driver on the lack of parking that's out there. I'm not saying anything about this video here. However, I am saying that, when we take that away, when we make drivers shut down early, when we make them feel unsafe where they're parked, I can't help but think that it changes how they sleep. If you're not making as much money, you're not going to sleep as well either. You have to reduce that mindset. When that doesn't happen, bad things can happen on the safety, and that's so much more than just a driver. And I think we continue to work on that, is how we, outside of the drivers, can make their lives a lot safer.
Yeah, you watch the video, and as you looked at it, you can see just how, not only how dangerous it obviously is, but a few seconds how it would have mattered. If that truck that we saw had turned right just a few seconds before that, it would have been a wall that truck couldn't have stopped, and would have had it, and maybe have killed both of those drivers. So
yeah, that just an amazing video here. You'll see it. It's on a Twitter feed. Follow us on our LinkedIn, on our YouTube channel as well, and you'll see the link. Buckle up, Bob. What are we talking about this week?
We've been talking about aggressive driving and how to avoid it. And so we start off with don't offend, don't tailgate. And the third one we want to talk about is don't engage. An angry driver, right, can't start a fight unless another driver is willing to join into that. We see that in the office all the time with Drive Safe Dave. You just got to walk away once in a while and not join into that argument with him, and everything will be better. But it does say, hey, put as much distance between you and that vehicle as possible, but never, under no circumstances, should you pull off to the side of the road and try to settle the situation. Never, ever do that, right? Just get that distance between you and let it go. Hey, it is what it is, and if it was you, okay, if it was them, okay too, right? Live to drive another day, but don't ever engage in road rage or any kind of issues out there on the highway.
Yeah, the autonomous vehicles, they really do try to speak to this on their decision making. And they brought it up. They brought up a point where they were driving the truck in the Nashville, Tennessee area on a Sunday when there's a football game going on. So they had the truck in there running on the autonomous side. It was the game's going, and they try to do it in the worst conditions. There's merged traffic going on. The truck is continuing to maintain its space, and so you had a trucking owner, trucking executive in the truck, as well as one of the CEOs of this company. They're driving. The truck's just doing its thing, and it's letting everybody merge in the right way. And all of a sudden, the merging's over, right? The merging's over, and all of a sudden this truck continues to slow down because to the right of it in an illegal pass, you have 2 cars on the emergency lanes or, going past, trying to get past everybody. The truck sees it, lets them in, and it doesn't have feelings. It's always going to make the same thing. You think about that. We see it. We do it in our cars and our 4-wheelers and the big trucks. Everything. We move up. Right? You're not getting in front of me. Not today, Junior. Yep. The big truck, it slowed down and let them in. The IT folks on the autonomous side looked at the CEO and said, would any of your drivers have done that? And you think about that part right there, not engaging. the safety aspect of just letting them in. It's hard to do. It's hard to do. It's hard when they're going around you, just staying they already saw there's construction up ahead and they continue to go that way. Just you've got to take that personal side out of it and just make it with the safe side. I don't know how you do it. It's tough, but the autonomous, the vehicle, it doesn't have feelings. You're not going to hurt its feelings if you talk about the truck's mama. Come on in. You're good to go.
Yeah, and we talk, how the industry has to switch from fault. Drivers are geared towards not my fault versus to the preventability. And that's kind of what the autonomous is doing. Hey, we're going to prevent it. It doesn't matter whether we have the right of way. Yep. It's going to prevent it. And we've talked about that in recent weeks where that's the number one behavior adjustment drivers can make out there to prevent accidents is to yield that right of way. And that's what it sounds like it was speaking to there.
Yes, it was. All right. We got some videos, and here we go. Video number 1.
We have some good ones.
Here it is.
Again, great job managing the speed and space and traffic. Now this is the danger. Watch the double merge, and then boom, here comes this one, and from both directions in the lane this driver is. And look at this driver has everything under control in front. Just outstanding job, driver.
Yeah, phenomenal. I think the autonomous trucks can learn something off this as well. Great job in practicing your patience, increasing your space, reducing your speed. You see the chaos in front of you. Phenomenal job. Next video.
And again, looks pretty harmless. And then here comes the box truck, says, I can make it in there. And this driver yields the right of way. Just what we were talking about. Terrific job. Hey, you're not going anywhere. Stay in your lane. Letting them in. And no accident because of it.
Wow. That's some great patience there.
Terrific job. Again here, letting them in. Right? Backing up, and then he increases the space right away. Again, some really good practices here, folks. This is how it takes to prevent accidents. Slow it down, let them in, get that big picture. We see the merge, and the driver's slowing down, and you can see the space increase immediately. Even though he went onto the third lane, the driver was already letting that space get bigger. Here, this is just one of those things where, again, you're in the wind. I know it's hard to see, and you've got some snow that was blowing, and the roads are wet. So here comes a truck that's going to pass you and fly by you, right? And the driver just backs off and lets them in. The speed was slowing down. Look, there's nobody around, yet the driver still backed it off in case this driver loses control. So, again, great job at learning your situational awareness. And unfortunately, we have to close. We still got work to do, folks. No. It is a red light. You just ran it. Yellow does not mean speed up. You have to slow down and prepare to stop.
Yeah, we see it for the time right here. I mean, doesn't appear to be any kind of speed reduction on here.
No.
As a matter of fact, the aggressiveness stays. And it probably says, because maybe the driver could be familiar with the area, that if I miss this light, I'm going to miss the next one. So the driver immediately speeds up, runs the first red light to get to that second light so they can make the light. That's not the decisions we're after. Listen, when you just have to stop driving like this. It's okay to miss that first light. Yes. Hey, guess what? When you miss the first one, I guarantee you'll make the second one the next time,
Yes.
When it turns green. You've got to slow down. It's not worth it. Man, buckle up, Bob. We continue to see these videos, and these are things that we've got to continue to work on, because this person here may have done the whole trip the best way, 99% of it, yet this one time he or she runs this light, that could be the one time that we take somebody's life.
Absolutely right. And again, we've talked in the past, and maybe we need to bring it up again, but how you make those decisions. And we know the drivers want to be safe out there. But in this case, this driver let his priorities, wrongly as they are, dictate how he was driving versus being the values, which is safety first.
And we're going to keep playing this, and we're going to do something we talked about that Dr. Ben Carson spoke about. And if you want to raise your hand, we may have a minute to get you in here. But we're going to do a best case, worst case scenario right here. Dave, what's the best case right here from this drivers?
The best case, if you stop at the light, is that the best case is nothing bad happens at all. Nothing bad happens at all, and you continue on.
But the decision we're making in our minds right now is approaching the light. I want to start there. So the best case, worst case we're going to do here is, as you, the driver, are approaching this light right now, you see it's yellow. Best case, worst case. Go, Dave.
Best case is if you stop, then you don't hurt anybody. Best case, if you run this light, you may have made it okay, but the worst case, if you move the light, is somebody can get killed.
Yep.
If you on your best case, worst case, if you stop, both answers are no one gets hurt. So you got to look at it like that. Best case, worst case. If you come to a complete stop beforehand, nobody will get hurt, guaranteed. But on the second one, if you run it, worst case is somebody can be killed. So obviously, you stop at the light.
Yeah, Bryce, go ahead and bring it out of the videos here as we close the show. Listen, those best case, worst case is this, Dave, and buckle up, Bob. We do have time to run those through our minds because they're really quick. I don't think it takes us that long to make that decision. When we're approaching a light and it's green and it turns yellow on you, you've got the ability to stop. The best case, worst case is this. Best case is, the worst case is you go through that light and you kill somebody.
Correct.
And anytime that's the worst case, you take the better of the two, right? You don't take that case. You take the best case. The best case is, well, I'm going to stop at the light. I may lose some time. I may be 3 minutes late. Whatever that is, maybe that's the best case. Or the worst case is you run it and you kill somebody.
Correct.
And that's how you try to make those decisions, and it helps you make a better decision when you're out there driving. Our dear Heavenly Father, continue to watch over these drivers, the drivers on the road, the four-wheelers, the big trucks, everybody. Keep us safe and help us work together to keep these roads just a little safer. I ask you to be with Congress and be with, those that have the ability to add more parking for our drivers. And we've got to find a way to get them some more parking. We've got to open this up. We've got to take the opportunity, the chances for them to have an accident, take those away. Help our drivers on the road today to recognize when they're fatigued, when they're tired, and when it's time to get off the road. Angry, it doesn't matter. Help us make the right decision. Help them make that bold decision as well on that best case, worst case, to always apply that and make the best decision we can to protect life. We thank you for your son. We thank you for all you do. It's in your son's name we pray. Amen. Everybody, we will see you this afternoon. There's more BCB Live to come at 2 o'clock. Be there or be square. Drive safe, Dave. Buckle up, Bob. BCB Live is
the safest station in the nation.